The metal walls of New Geneva Station hummed with quiet energy as Veloth stared at the data pad in his four hands. The blue glow from the screen made his crystalline skin shimmer like broken glass. He had read the human files 17 times, but they still made no sense. Veloth was a Catherian diplomat. His people were known across the galaxy for their logic and careful thinking. For 300 years he had studied alien species for the Galactic Council. He understood the war-loving hegemony. He could predict the trading patterns of the merchant Trilaxians. Even the mysterious energy beings from Sector 7 followed patterns he could map. But humans were different. Humans were wrong. The door to his quarters slid open with a soft hiss. Director Nexus floated inside, his gas-filled environmental suit making small puffing sounds. The elderly council leader had been managing first contact situations for longer than most species had been, traveling between stars. "Have you finished reading the reports, Diplomat Veloth?" Nexus asked. His translated voice carried the weight of authority that came from speaking for 12 different alien governments. "Yes, Director. I have read them many times." Veloth set down the data pad and turned to face his superior. "I must ask again if these reports are accurate. Some of the behaviors described seem impossible for an intelligent species." Nexus moved closer to the viewing port that showed Earth hanging in space below them. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from this distance. It was hard to believe such a confusing species lived on its surface. "The reports are correct, Veloth. 3 separate survey teams have confirmed the data. Humans are unlike anything we have encountered before." Veloth picked up the data pad again and scrolled through the most troubling entries. "Director, the reports say humans deliberately expose themselves to their sun's radiation for pleasure. They consume fermented plant matter that should poison them. They keep non-intelligent animals in their homes and treat them like family members." "Continue reading," Nexus said quietly. "They engage in physical combat for entertainment. They voluntarily subject their bodies to stress through unnecessary exercise. Most disturbing of all, they form emotional attachments to creatures that cannot think or contribute to their survival." Veloth looked up from the screen. "How can such a species have developed space travel?" Nexus was quiet for a long moment. "That is exactly what the Council needs to understand, Veloth. Humanity has requested full membership in our organization. They have the technology and the intelligence to qualify. But their behavior patterns suggest they may be unstable. What does the Council want me to do? You will participate in our first residential exchange program. You will live with a human family for 30 rotations. Your job is to observe their daily behaviors and determine if they can be trusted with full Council membership." Veloth felt his skin crystals shift color slightly, showing his nervousness. Living among aliens was one thing. Living among creatures that defied all logic was another matter entirely. "Which family has been selected for the exchange?" he asked. Nexus activated a holographic display that showed 3 humans standing outside a building. "The Kim family of Sol Earth. Daeho Kim works in what humans call computer programming. His mate So Young works as an animal healer. They have 1 offspring, a female named Heywan, who is in her learning phase." Veloth studied the hologram. The male human looked ordinary enough with dark hair and clothes that covered most of his body. The female appeared similar, though smaller. The young one stood between them, showing the dental display that humans called smiling. "Why were they chosen?" Veloth asked. "Our preliminary scans suggested they were typical humans with boring, predictable lives. We thought you would have fewer strange behaviors to document." "And they agreed to house an alien. Humans appear eager to meet other species. This family volunteered within hours of the program announcement. They seemed excited about the opportunity." Excited. Another human behavior that made no sense to Veloth. Meeting an alien should cause careful evaluation, not emotional enthusiasm. He made a mental note to investigate this response pattern. "When do I depart?" "Your transport leaves in 6 hours. Your mission briefing contains all the details about human culture that our survey teams gathered. Study it carefully, Veloth. The Council will base their final decision about humanity on your report." After Nexus left, Veloth spent the remaining hours studying every piece of information available about humans. He learned about their need to consume liquid water multiple times per day. He read about their requirement for 8 hours of unconsciousness every rotation. He memorized their basic social customs and communication patterns. None of it made sense. The transport ship that carried him to Earth was small and efficient. Veloth spent the journey reviewing his equipment and preparing his observation protocols. He would record everything. Every strange behavior, every illogical choice, every example of the emotional instability that seemed to define humanity. As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Veloth looked down at the planet's surface. Cities of light stretched across the dark continents. Millions of humans lived down there, all following behavior patterns that defied rational explanation. The ship landed at what humans called Incheon International Airport. The noise and movement overwhelmed Veloth immediately. Thousands of humans rushed through the building carrying containers and speaking in loud voices. The air smelled of strange chemicals and food. Bright lights flashed everywhere. A human male approached him. He was tall by human standards, with kind eyes and a genuine smile. "Veloth," he asked in carefully pronounced galactic standard. "I am Daiho Kim. Welcome to Earth." Veloth had expected formal protocols and official procedures. Instead, this human simply walked up and started talking as if they were already acquainted. "I am Diplomat Veloth of the Catherian Cultural Assessment Division," he replied formally. "That is a very long title," Daiho said with amusement. "Would it be okay if I just call you Veloth?" Before Veloth could explain the importance of proper titles and ranks, Daiho continued speaking. "My family is very excited to meet you. So Young prepared a special dinner. Heywan has been practicing her galactic standard for weeks. Even our dog Bokchi seems to know something special is happening today. Dog." Veloth remembered this from the briefing files. A non-intelligent creature that humans kept in their homes for no logical reason. Evidence point 1 for his report was already presenting itself. "Thank you for providing accommodation," Veloth said carefully. "I will endeavor to be a respectful guest while conducting my cultural observations." Daiho laughed, a sound that seemed to come from genuine pleasure rather than social obligation. "You are not a guest, Veloth. For the next month you are family." Family. Veloth knew this human concept involved genetic relationships and resource-sharing agreements, but Daiho seemed to be using the word in some other way. As they walked through the airport together, Veloth began his observations. Daiho carried Veloth's equipment without being asked. He pointed out interesting sights and explained local customs. He asked questions about Catherian culture and listened to the answers with genuine interest. Most strangely of all, he seemed happy to be doing these things. The ground transport vehicle that Daiho called a car was filled with images of his family. Pictures of the 3 humans were attached to the dashboard. A small decorative object hung from the mirror. The entire space felt personal in a way that Veloth found unusual. "So Young and Heywan wanted to come pick you up," Daiho explained as they drove through the city. "But So Young had to work late at the animal hospital. There was an emergency surgery on a cat who swallowed something it should not have eaten. She performs medical procedures on non-intelligent creatures." "Yes. She has been a veterinarian for 15 years. She loves helping animals." Love. Another human concept that appeared frequently in their culture but had no logical basis that Veloth could determine. He made another mental note for his report. The Kim family home was smaller than Veloth expected but filled with signs of habitation. Plants grew in containers near the windows. Books and electronic devices were scattered on tables. The walls displayed images of the family and their activities. As soon as Daiho opened the door, a 4-legged creature with golden fur rushed toward them. This had to be the dog Bokchi. The animal showed no fear of Veloth despite his alien appearance. Instead, it approached with the same enthusiasm that Daiho had shown at the airport. "Bokchi, sit," Daiho commanded gently. The dog immediately obeyed, though its tail continued moving rapidly back and forth. "This is the non-intelligent creature you mentioned," Veloth observed. "This is Bokchi, our family dog. He is very friendly and loves meeting new people. Would you like to pet him pet?" The briefing files had mentioned this human behavior of touching animals for no apparent purpose. That will not be necessary, Veloth replied. At that moment, 2 more humans entered the room. So Young was shorter than Daeho, but carried herself with the confidence of someone skilled in her profession. Haiwan appeared to be in the developmental stage between child and adult that humans called adolescence. Welcome to our home, Veloth, So Young said in careful but accurate galactic standard. We are honored to host you during your stay on Earth. Thank you, human So Young. I appreciate your willingness to participate in this. Veloth woke to the sound of footsteps moving through the house below. His internal chronometer showed it was still dark outside. On Kithara, such early activity would indicate an emergency. But as he listened carefully, the sound seemed calm and routine. He activated his recording device and made his first entry. Day 1, Hour 6. Human subject Daeho appears to be active during the planet's dark period, investigating possible sleep disorder or crisis situation. Veloth put on his environmental suit and quietly made his way downstairs. Through the kitchen window, he could see Daeho in the back garden. The human was wearing strange clothing and moving his body in repetitive motions. The alien diplomat watched in fascination as Daeho lifted heavy metal objects repeatedly, then dropped to the ground and pushed his body up and down with his arms. Sweat covered the human's face, and his breathing was rapid and labored. This had to be some kind of medical emergency. Veloth rushed outside. Human Daeho, do you require assistance? Are you experiencing system failure? Daeho looked up, surprised but not alarmed. He wiped sweat from his face with a small cloth. Oh, good morning, Veloth. I am just doing my morning workout. Did I wake you up? I tried to be quiet. You are deliberately causing stress to your physical systems. Yes, it helps keep me healthy and strong. Daeho lifted one of the metal objects again. Exercise is good for the heart and muscles. It also helps me think more clearly during the day. Veloth stared at him. You are voluntarily damaging your body to improve your body. Well, when you put it that way, it does sound strange. Daeho laughed. But humans need physical activity to stay in good condition. We are not built to sit still all day. This made no logical sense to Veloth. Kitharian bodies were designed for efficiency. They moved only when necessary and conserved energy whenever possible. The idea of wasting energy on purpose seemed insane. All humans engage in this behavior. Most of us try to. Some people run, some people swim, some people play sports. There are many ways to exercise. Daeho finished his workout and began putting the metal objects away. Would you like to try it sometime? I could show you some easy exercises. That will not be necessary, Veloth replied quickly. He made a mental note. Evidence point 2. Humans voluntarily stress their bodies for unclear benefits. After Daeho showered and changed clothes, the family gathered for their morning meal. Veloth observed the food preparation process with growing alarm. So Young served him a bowl containing fermented vegetables that smelled sharp and acidic. This is kimchi, she explained. It is a traditional Korean food, very healthy and delicious. Veloth examined the red-colored mixture carefully. His suit's sensors detected high levels of bacterial activity. This food appears to be in a state of decay. Oh no, it is fermented, not rotten, So Young said with a smile. The fermentation process creates beneficial bacteria that help with digestion. It also preserves the vegetables and adds flavor. You intentionally allow bacteria to grow in your food? Yes. Humans eat many fermented foods: cheese, yogurt, bread, wine, soy sauce. Fermentation makes food safer and more nutritious in many cases. Haiwan added, My biology teacher says humans have been fermenting food for thousands of years. Our ancestors figured out that controlled fermentation prevents harmful bacteria from growing. Veloth watched the family eat the bacterial mixture with obvious pleasure. They even offered him more when he declined the first serving. Evidence point 3. Humans consume potentially toxic substances and enjoy the experience. That evening, the family engaged in what they called movie night. They gathered in their main living area and activated a large viewing screen. Bokji lay on the floor between them, occasionally making soft sounds of contentment. "What would you like to watch?" "Veloth," Deho asked, holding a small device that controlled the screen. "We have action movies, comedies, dramas, science fiction." "I will observe whatever you normally watch," Veloth replied. They selected something called an action movie. Veloth expected educational content or historical documentation. Instead, he watched humans on the screen engage in elaborate physical combat and dangerous activities. Explosions destroyed buildings. People jumped from incredible heights. Vehicles crashed into each other at high speeds. The most disturbing part was the Kim family's reaction. Deho leaned forward during fight scenes, his heart rate increasing. Haewon covered her eyes during particularly intense moments but kept watching through her fingers. So Young made small sounds of concern when characters were in danger. "Why? Are you experiencing emotional distress?" Veloth asked during a quiet moment in the movie. "We are not distressed," So Young explained. "We are entertained. The excitement and tension make the story more enjoyable. But you are showing physical signs of stress. Your heart rates have increased. The young one is displaying fear responses. That is part of the fun," Haewon said. "Movies are supposed to make you feel things, happy, sad, scared, excited. It is like a roller coaster for your emotions." Veloth did not understand the roller coaster reference, but the concept was clear. Humans voluntarily subjected themselves to psychological manipulation for pleasure. They paid money to experience artificial fear, sadness, and anxiety. "Do you not have enough real emotions in your daily lives?" he asked. The family looked at each other and laughed. Not the polite social laughter Veloth knew from diplomatic functions, but genuine amusement that seemed to bubble up from inside them. "Human emotions are not a limited resource," Deho explained. "Feeling things strongly makes life more interesting. Movies, books, music, art, they all help us experience feelings in a safe way." "Safe way. We can feel scared or sad or angry without real danger or loss," So Young added. "It helps us understand ourselves and other people better." After the movie ended, Veloth retreated to his room to process what he had observed. He activated his secure communication system and began composing his first official report to the Council. Cultural Assessment Report, Day 1. Human subjects display multiple concerning behavioral patterns. They voluntarily damage their bodies through unnecessary physical stress. They consume bacterial cultures as recreational food. They seek out artificial emotional trauma for entertainment purposes. He paused, considering how to categorize what he had witnessed. Initial assessment suggests humans are emotionally unstable but may be manageable through proper oversight. Their behaviors appear self-destructive but do not seem to cause actual harm to the subjects. Recommend continued observation to determine if these patterns represent mental illness or normal human function. The next morning, Veloth woke to find Deho gone again. This time he followed the sound of the front door closing and looked out the window. Deho was running down the street at a steady pace, his breathing visible in the cool morning air. "Where is he going?" Veloth asked So Young, who was preparing breakfast. "Just around the neighborhood. He will be back in about 30 minutes. She cracked eggs into a hot pan, creating a sizzling sound. "Would you like eggs for breakfast? I can make them scrambled or fried." He runs to nowhere and returns to where he started. Yes, that is jogging. He does it for exercise and because he enjoys it. Veloth watched through the window as other humans passed by the house. Some walked dogs on leashes, some rode bicycles, some pushed small wheeled vehicles containing tiny humans. All of them seemed to be moving with purpose, but none of them appeared to be accomplishing any practical goals. "Do all humans engage in purposeless movement?" he asked. So Young laughed. "I suppose it might look purposeless to you, but walking, running, and cycling make us feel good. They help us stay healthy. And sometimes we meet neighbors and make friends. You form social bonds through unnecessary physical activity. Sometimes humans are social creatures. We like being around other people, even strangers." When Deho returned from his run, his face was flushed and he was breathing heavily, but he seemed energized rather than exhausted. He greeted Veloth cheerfully and immediately began talking about his plans for the day. "I thought we could visit downtown Seoul today," he said between sips of water. There are markets, museums, and parks. You could see how humans live in a big city. That would be acceptable for my research, Veloth replied. As they prepared to leave the house, HFY approached Veloth with a small electronic device. I made you a music playlist, she said shyly. Songs from different countries and different styles. Maybe you would like to listen while we explore the city. Veloth looked at the device. You compiled audio entertainment for me specifically. Yes, music is important to humans. I thought you might want to understand it better. The gesture puzzled Veloth. HFY had spent time creating something for him without being asked and without expecting anything in return. The playlist contained songs she personally enjoyed and thought he might find interesting. It was completely illogical and strangely touching. Thank you, human HFY, he said formally. Just HFY, she corrected with a smile that reminded him of her parents. As they walked to the car, Bokji ran to the fence and made loud barking sounds. His tail moved rapidly back and forth, and he pressed his face against the metal barrier. Bokji wants to come with us, Daeho explained. He loves car rides and meeting new people. The creature experiences disappointment at being left behind. Yes, dogs have emotions too. 2 weeks had passed since Veloth arrived at the Kim family home. He had filled his data recorder with dozens of observations about human behavior. Each day brought new examples of their illogical choices and emotional responses. He was building a solid case for keeping humanity under council supervision. Then Bokji got sick. It started on a Tuesday morning. Veloth was in the kitchen observing So-young prepare the family's morning meal when the dog walked in slowly. Instead of his usual energetic movement, Bokji moved carefully, as if each step caused pain. His golden fur looked dull, and he did not ask for food scraps as he normally did. So-young noticed immediately. She knelt beside the animal and gently touched his head. What is wrong, boy? Are you not feeling well? Bokji made a soft whining sound and lay down on the floor. His breathing seemed labored and his eyes looked tired. Daeho, So-young called. Something is wrong with Bokji. Daeho came running from upstairs, still putting on his work shirt. When he saw the dog lying motionless on the kitchen floor, his face showed immediate concern. Veloth expected them to evaluate the situation logically. The creature was old by dog standards. It was showing signs of system failure. The rational response would be to dispose of it efficiently and perhaps acquire a replacement. Instead, So-young carefully lifted Bokji and carried him to the car. I am taking him to the veterinary hospital right now, she announced. Call my office and tell them I will be late. I will drive you, Daeho said without hesitation. HFY can get to school on her own today. Veloth watched this response with growing confusion. The Kim family was disrupting their entire daily schedule for a non-functional creature. They were treating the animal's discomfort as if it were a genuine emergency. May I accompany you to observe this process? Veloth asked. Of course, So-young replied while gently stroking Bokji's head. You can see how we care for sick animals. The veterinary hospital was a large building filled with humans and their various companion creatures. Veloth saw dogs, cats, birds, and several animals he could not identify. All of the humans showed the same concerned expressions as the Kim family. So-young spoke to the reception staff in rapid Korean, her professional medical vocabulary flowing easily. Within minutes, they were in an examination room where another human in white clothing carefully examined Bokji. His heart rate is irregular, the veterinarian explained to So-young in galactic standard, apparently for Veloth's benefit. His temperature is elevated and he shows signs of abdominal pain. I want to run some blood tests and take images of his internal organs. Do whatever you need to do, So-young replied immediately. Cost is not important. Veloth made a note in his recorder. The humans were prepared to spend unlimited resources on a creature that contributed nothing to their survival or prosperity. The tests took 3 hours. During that time, Veloth observed the Kim family's behavior carefully. They did not leave the hospital or return to their normal activities. Instead, they sat in the waiting area, speaking quietly to each other and taking turns petting Bokji to keep him calm. More surprisingly, they began interacting with other humans in similar situations. Daeho brought coffee to an elderly woman whose cat was having surgery. So Young offered medical advice to a young couple whose pet bird had stopped eating. Hae-won, who had chosen to skip school and join them, played soft music on her phone to calm nervous animals in the waiting room. "Why are you helping these strangers?" Veloth asked So Young during a quiet moment. "They are worried about their pets, just like we are worried about Bokji," she explained. "When people are scared and upset, small kindnesses help them feel better, but you receive no benefit from these actions." "Helping others makes us feel better too," Hae-won added, "and maybe someday when we need help, someone will be kind to us." When the test results came back, the news was serious. Bokji had a genetic heart condition that would require expensive surgery. Without treatment, he would live perhaps 6 more months. With surgery, he could live for several more years. Veloth expected the family to consider this information logically. The creature was old. The surgery was expensive. The outcome was not guaranteed. Any rational species would accept the natural end of the animal's life cycle. "Schedule the surgery," So Young told the veterinarian without hesitation. "The procedure is quite expensive," the doctor warned. "It will cost more than most humans spend on medical care for themselves in a year." "Bokji is family," Daeho said simply. "Family takes care of family." That evening, while Bokji rested at the hospital, the Kim family mobilized like a military unit preparing for battle. So Young contacted veterinary specialists around the world, researching the latest surgical techniques. Daeho spent hours on his computer, reading medical papers about canine cardiac procedures. Hae-won set up what she called a crowdfunding page to help pay for the surgery. "What is crowdfunding?" Veloth asked as he watched her type rapidly on her laptop. "I tell people about Bokji's situation on the internet, and they can donate money to help with his medical costs," she explained. "Strangers who love animals will send small amounts of money to help save a dog they have never met." This concept astounded Veloth. Humans will give resources to help an animal they do not know, owned by people they have never met. Yes. Many humans donate to help animals in need. Some people cannot have pets of their own, but still want to help. Others just believe that all creatures deserve medical care when they are sick. Within 6 hours of posting Bokji's story, Hae-won had received donations from 47 different humans. Some gave large amounts, others gave only a few dollars. All of them left messages wishing Bokji a successful recovery. Veloth read the messages in amazement. Humans from different countries, speaking different languages, all expressing genuine concern for a dog they would never meet. Their emotional responses seemed completely authentic. "Good luck to Bokji and your family," wrote someone from Canada. "Our dog had the same surgery last year and is doing great now." "Sending love and healing thoughts," wrote someone from Brazil. "Animals are angels on earth." "Bokji looks like such a good boy," wrote someone from Japan. "I hope the surgery goes perfectly." The surgery was scheduled for the next morning. That night, the Kim family ate dinner in unusual quiet. They talked about their favorite memories of Bokji, sharing stories about his puppyhood and the funny things he had done over the years. "Remember when he tried to dig a hole in the living room carpet because he wanted to bury his toy bone?" Hae-won said, laughing despite her obvious worry. "Or when he learned to open the refrigerator door and ate an entire chicken we were saving?" "For dinner," Daeho added. "He has always been too smart for his own good," So Young said fondly. Veloth listened to these stories with growing confusion. The family was not just fond of this creature. They had formed deep emotional bonds with it. They viewed its history as part of their own family history. They had incorporated its personality and behaviors into their daily lives. The next morning, they arrived at the hospital before dawn. The surgery would take 4 hours. Veloth expected them to drop off the animal and return later, but instead they settled into the waiting room for the duration. "We want to be here when he wakes up," So Young explained. "Animals get scared when they are in pain and do not recognize their surroundings. If we are here, he will know he is safe." During the long wait, Veloth observed the family's behavior carefully. They supported each other through quiet conversation and physical contact. Daeho brought So Young tea and held her hand. Haewon leaned against her father's shoulder while reading. When So-young began crying from stress, both Daeho and Haewon immediately moved to comfort her. "Why are you experiencing such strong, emotional responses?" Veloth asked. "The creature cannot understand your distress, and your feelings do not affect the surgery outcome." "Bokji has been part of our family for 8 years, So-young explained through her tears. "He greets us when we come home. He sleeps at the foot of our bed. He comforts us when we are sad and plays with us when we are happy. Losing him would leave a hole in our lives that nothing could fill. But he is not intelligent. He cannot contribute to your household or help you achieve your goals." "Love is not about intelligence or usefulness," Daeho said quietly. "Bokji loves us completely and without conditions. He does not care if we are successful or wealthy or attractive. He just wants to be with us. That kind of pure love is rare and precious." Haewon added, "Bokji makes us better humans. Taking care of him teaches us to be gentle and patient. Playing with him brings us joy. When we are sad, he somehow knows and stays close to comfort us. How could we not love him back?" 4 hours later, the surgeon emerged with good news. The operation had been successful. Bokji was stable and recovering well. The family's relief was immediate and overwhelming. So-young cried again, but this time from happiness. Daeho hugged both his wife and daughter tightly. Even Veloth felt something unusual in his chest, a strange lightness that he could not identify. When they were finally allowed to see Bokji, he was groggy from the anesthesia but alive. His tail moved weakly when he saw them, and he made a soft sound of recognition. The family gathered around his recovery bed, speaking to him in gentle voices and carefully stroking his fur. "We are here, boy," So-young whispered. 1 month into his stay with the Kim family, Veloth thought he understood human behavior patterns. Then his biosuit began to malfunction. It started with small warning signals during his morning observations. The atmospheric processor inside his chest unit flickered amber instead of steady green. The readings showed minor fluctuations in his air filtration system. Veloth dismissed these signs as normal wear from extended use. By afternoon, the warnings became more serious. His breathing felt labored, and his crystalline skin began to show stress patterns, small fractures that appeared when Catherian bodies struggled with environmental toxins. Earth's atmosphere contained trace gases that were harmless to humans, but gradually poisonous to his species. Veloth retreated to his room and ran a full diagnostic on his life support systems. The results were troubling. His biosuit's primary filter had degraded beyond safe operational limits. The backup system was functioning but would fail within 3 days. Without proper atmospheric conditioning, his internal organs would begin shutting down. The logical solution was immediate extraction. He could contact the Council Medical Services and be aboard a transport ship within 12 hours. His mission would end early, but he had gathered sufficient data to complete his cultural assessment of humanity. Veloth prepared to activate his emergency beacon. His finger hovered over the transmit button as he composed his extraction request. Then he heard voices from downstairs. "Where is Veloth?" Haewon was asking. "He missed dinner. That is not like him." "Maybe he is working on his reports," Daeho suggested. "Diplomatic work must require many documents." "I will check on him," So-young decided. "He might need something." A soft knock came at his door. "Veloth, are you okay in there?" Against every protocol he had learned in 3 centuries of diplomatic service, Veloth found himself answering honestly. "I am experiencing some technical difficulties with my equipment." "May I come in?" So-young asked. That would be acceptable. So-young entered and immediately noticed his distressed appearance. His skin showed more fracture lines than usual, and his breathing was clearly labored. "You are sick," she observed with the quick assessment skills of a medical professional. "My life support system is failing," Veloth admitted. "I require specific atmospheric conditions that your planet cannot naturally provide." "What kind of atmospheric conditions?" So-young asked, sitting down across from him with complete focus. Veloth found himself explaining Catherian physiology in detail. His species required a precise mixture of gases, filtered through bioengineered, membranes and maintained at exact temperature and humidity levels. His biosuit recreated his homeworld's atmosphere in a portable form. How long before the system fails completely? So Young asked. Approximately 3 days. And what happens then? Organ failure, followed by death within 6 to 8 hours. So Young was quiet for a moment, processing this information with the same intensity she brought to veterinary emergencies. Can the system be repaired? Not without specialized Cytherian technology that does not exist on Earth. Can a new system be built using Earth materials? Veloth hesitated. The question had never occurred to him. Theoretically, perhaps, but the engineering requirements are extremely complex. It would require knowledge of Cytherian biology, advanced atmospheric chemistry, and precision manufacturing capabilities. Let me get Daeho and Haewon, So Young said, standing up. We need to discuss this as a family. Family. There was that word again, now applied to include him in their decision-making process. Within minutes, all 3 humans were in his room, listening intently as Veloth explained his situation. He expected them to express sympathy and help him contact council services for extraction. Instead, they began asking technical questions. What gases do you need and in what concentrations? Daeho wanted to know. What temperature and humidity ranges are safe for you? So Young asked. How big does the filtering system need to be? Haewon inquired. For the next hour, Veloth found himself describing Cytherian atmospheric requirements in precise detail. The humans took notes, asked follow-up questions, and began researching possible, Earth-based solutions on their computers. I think we can build something, Daeho announced after reviewing Veloth's specifications. It will not be as elegant as Cytherian technology, but we can create a functional life support system using equipment available here. You would do this for me? Veloth asked, genuinely surprised. Of course, So Young replied, as if the question made no sense. You are part of our family now. Family takes care of family. There was that phrase again. The same words Daeho had used about Bokji's surgery. Veloth realized the humans had somehow classified him as a family member deserving of unlimited support and resources. What followed was the most intense 3 days of Veloth's life. The Kim family transformed their home into a research and manufacturing facility. So Young contacted colleagues at Seoul National University's chemistry department. Daeho reached out to engineers at his company who specialized in environmental control systems. Haewon coordinated with her school's science teachers to borrow laboratory equipment. None of them slept more than a few hours each night. Veloth watched in amazement as humans who had never heard of Cytherian physiology became experts in atmospheric engineering. So Young studied his species' respiratory system with the same dedication she applied to veterinary medicine. Daeho reverse-engineered the basic principles of atmospheric filtering from Veloth's technical manuals. Haewon learned enough about gas mixtures to serve as translator between her parents and their academic consultants. The solution they developed was ingenious in its simplicity. Using aquarium oxygenators, medical-grade air filters, industrial humidifiers, and chemistry lab equipment borrowed from 3 different schools, they built a room-sized atmospheric processor that could maintain Cytherian-safe air indefinitely. The carrier system was not beautiful. Tubes and wires ran along the walls. Electronic components hummed and beeped at all hours. The whole assembly looked like something built by enthusiastic amateurs rather than professional engineers. It worked perfectly. On the evening of the 3rd day, as Veloth breathed easily for the first time in 72 hours, he sat with the Kim family around their dinner table. His jury-rigged life support system hummed quietly in the background, a constant reminder of what these humans had accomplished. How can I repay this debt? He asked them. There is no debt, Daeho replied, passing him a bowl of rice. We helped you because we wanted to, because we care about you. But I could offer technological information from my homeworld, manufacturing techniques, medical knowledge, scientific discoveries that could benefit your species. That is very kind, So Young said. But we did not help you expecting payment. We helped you because you needed help. Haywan added. Besides, helping you taught us so much. I learned more about chemistry and engineering in the past 3 days than I did in my entire school career. It was actually fun. Fun. The humans had enjoyed the emergency that had nearly cost Veloth his life. They had found pleasure in the challenge of solving an impossible technical problem under extreme time pressure. In Cytherian society, such assistance would create formal obligations between families, Veloth explained. Debts that might take generations to repay. That sounds very stressful, Deho observed. How do you ever help anyone if you have to worry about creating permanent debts? We generally do not offer help to non-family members, Veloth admitted. The Kim family exchanged glances that Veloth was beginning to recognize. They were trying to understand his culture without being critical of it. That must be lonely sometimes, So Young said gently. Lonely. Veloth had never applied that word to Cytherian society before, but sitting in this warm kitchen, surrounded by humans who had risked their own comfort and resources to save his life, he realized that loneliness might be exactly what his species had built for themselves. On Kythera, we pride ourselves on individual self-sufficiency, he said slowly. Needing help from others is considered a sign of weakness or poor planning. But everyone needs help sometimes, Haywan pointed out. That is just part of being alive. Humans seem to understand this instinctively, Veloth observed. You offer assistance without being asked. You accept help without shame. You treat helping others as a source of joy rather than obligation. Life is easier when people take care of each other, Deho said simply. And it is more fun too. That night, as Veloth lay in his bed listening to the gentle sounds of his improvised life support system, he realized something fundamental had changed in his understanding of humanity. For the first time since arriving on Earth, he felt completely safe. Not just physically safe, though the Kim family had literally saved his life. He felt emotionally safe in a way he had never experienced on his homeworld. He knew with absolute certainty that these humans would help him again if needed, without question and without expecting anything in return. More importantly, he realized that he would do the same for them. Somewhere in the past month, without noticing when it happened, Veloth had learned to love this strange, illogical, emotionally chaotic human family, and for the first time in his 300-year life, he understood what it meant to have a home. 6 weeks after arriving on Earth, Veloth received the message that would change everything. The priority transmission from Council Director Nexus arrived during the Kim family's evening meal, interrupting their discussion about Haywan's upcoming school science fair. Veloth excused himself to read the message in private. The contents made his crystalline skin shift to deep purple, a color that indicated severe stress among his species. Diplomatic priority, Alpha, the message began. Report to Council chambers immediately for emergency consultation. Cultural exchange program under review due to concerning developments across all host locations. The message detailed 3 separate incidents involving human hosts and alien exchange diplomats. In Lagos, Nigeria, a family had sheltered a wounded Zephyrian diplomat during a severe thunderstorm, even though the alien's bioelectric field could have seriously injured them. In Stockholm, Sweden, a group of humans had entered a burning building to rescue Trilaxian exchange students, risking their lives for beings they barely knew. Most troubling of all, a small town in Montana had organized a week-long search for a missing hegemony researcher, mobilizing hundreds of volunteers to comb dangerous mountain terrain. Preliminary analysis suggests humans display dangerous levels of self-sacrificial behavior toward alien species, Director Nexus had written. This unpredictable altruism poses potential security risks to Council operations. But the most alarming development was buried near the end of the message. Several exchange diplomats had requested extended stays with their human hosts. 2 had applied for permanent asylum on Earth. 1 had simply stopped responding to Council communications entirely. Submit comprehensive final assessment within 7 rotations, the message concluded. Particular attention required regarding human pack bonding behaviors and their effect on non-human psychology. Council decision on humanity's status will be accelerated based on your findings. Veloth stared at the message for a long time. The Council was afraid. For the first time in their recorded history, alien diplomats were choosing human families over their own species. The implications terrified the galactic leadership. "Veloth, is everything okay?" So Young's voice came from the kitchen. "Your dinner is getting cold." "I will be there momentarily," he called back, trying to keep his voice steady. As he walked back to the dining room, Veloth saw the Kim family with new eyes. Daeho was helping Haewon with a complex physics problem, patiently explaining concepts until she understood. So Young was updating Bokji's medication schedule, her movements precise and caring. The dog lay contentedly at their feet, fully recovered from his surgery. This scene of domestic harmony suddenly seemed profound to Veloth. The family operated as a perfect cooperative unit, each member contributing according to their abilities and receiving support according to their needs. They had extended this same inclusive care to him and to countless others. "What was the message about?" Daeho asked as Veloth sat back down. "Council business," Veloth replied carefully. "They require a detailed report on my observations here. What will you tell them about us?" Haewon asked with genuine curiosity. The question struck Veloth unexpectedly. What would he tell them? That humans formed emotional bonds with anyone willing to accept their affection, that they risked their resources and safety for creatures that could not repay them, that they treated love as an unlimited resource rather than a scarce commodity to be carefully rationed. "I will tell them the truth about what I have observed," he said finally. That night, Veloth began composing his report. But instead of the clinical assessment the council expected, he found himself writing something entirely different. Page after page flowed from his recorder as he documented not just human behavior, but the reasoning behind it. He wrote about Daeho's morning exercises, but explained how physical fitness improved human mental function and emotional stability. He described their consumption of fermented foods, but included the sophisticated understanding of beneficial bacteria that made such foods safer and more nutritious. He documented their emotional responses to entertainment, but analyzed how this helped them process complex feelings in controlled environments. Most importantly, he wrote about their capacity to form family bonds with anyone willing to join their social groups. He described this not as dangerous instability, but as humanity's most sophisticated survival strategy. Humans expand their influence through inclusion rather than conquest, he wrote. They transform potential enemies into allies by making them feel valued and protected. This represents a form of cultural assimilation more powerful than any military force. He cited his own experience as evidence. In 6 weeks, the Kim family had transformed him from an objective observer into a protective family member. They had done this not through coercion or manipulation, but by simply treating him with consistent kindness and acceptance. Human pack bonding is not a weakness to be exploited, his report concluded. It is a strength that allows them to create cooperative networks spanning multiple species. They represent no threat to galactic stability. Instead, they offer a model for peaceful coexistence that the Council should embrace rather than fear. Veloth transmitted his report and waited for the response. It came within hours. "Report rejected," Director Nexus replied. "Assessment shows clear evidence of subject compromise. Return immediately for psychological evaluation and reassignment. Transport ship dispatched to Earth location." The second message was even more direct. Diplomatic commission terminated effective immediately. Credentials revoked. Report to Council Medical Facility upon arrival at Kithera for mandatory psychological reconditioning. Veloth read these messages during breakfast with the Kim family. His skin color shifted through several stress patterns as he processed the implications. His career was over. His credibility was destroyed. If he returned to Kithera, they would attempt to erase or modify his memories of Earth. "Bad news?" Daeho asked, noticing his distress. Veloth looked around the table at 3 humans and 1 dog who had become his world. Haewon was eating toast while reviewing notes for her chemistry exam. So Young was checking her phone for updates from the veterinary clinic. Daeho was reading the morning news while absently scratching Bokji behind the ears. They were living their normal lives. unaware that the galactic community was debating whether their species was too dangerous to be trusted with full citizenship. They had no idea that their simple capacity for love and acceptance was being classified as a security threat. "The Council has terminated my mission," Veloth said quietly. "They are sending a ship to collect me." The family's reaction was immediate and unanimous. Their faces showed genuine distress at the thought of his departure. "When do you have to leave?" So Young asked. "The transport arrives tomorrow." "Can you request an extension?" Haywan suggested. "Tell them you need more time to complete your research. I have already submitted my final report. They rejected my conclusions and terminated my diplomatic status." Veloth paused, considering how much to explain. "The Council believes I have been psychologically compromised by prolonged exposure to human culture." "Compromised how?" Deho asked with confusion. "They believe you have made me emotionally unstable, that I can no longer provide objective assessments because I have formed personal attachments to my subjects." The Kim family exchanged glances. After 6 weeks of living together, they could communicate volumes with just facial expressions. "Are they right?" So Young asked gently. Veloth considered the question seriously. According to Cytherian standards, yes, he was completely compromised. He could no longer view humans as research subjects. He saw them as individuals worthy of protection and care. He had developed what humans called love for this particular family. "Yes," he admitted. "By my species standards, I am no longer capable of objective analysis. I have become emotionally invested in your welfare." "Is that a bad thing?" Haywan asked. The question stopped Veloth short. In Cytherian culture, emotional attachment was seen as a weakness that interfered with logical decision-making. But living with the Kim family had shown him that love enhanced rather than diminished their judgment. Their emotional bonds made them more cooperative, more creative, more resilient in the face of challenges. "I do not believe it is a bad thing," he said slowly. "But my government disagrees." That evening, the family gathered in their living room for what they assumed would be their last night together. Bakji lay across Veloth's feet, a warm weight that had become comforting over the past weeks. Haywan had made another music playlist for him, this one filled with what she called goodbye songs. So Young had prepared all of his favorite Korean dishes for dinner. "Will you be in trouble when you return home?" Deho asked. "Probably. They will likely attempt to modify my memories of this experience." Veloth watched their expressions change from sadness to horror. "It is a standard procedure when diplomats are considered psychologically compromised." "They want to erase your memory of us," Haywan said, her voice small and hurt. "They believe it would restore my objectivity and allow me to return to useful diplomatic service." "But you do not want them to erase your memories," So Young observed. Veloth looked around the room at the evidence of their shared life, photos from family outings that now included him. The Council transport ship arrived at dawn, its sleek form casting shadows across the Kim family's neighborhood. Veloth watched from his bedroom window as the vessel settled onto the designated landing zone 3 blocks away. Soon, Cytherian retrieval officers would come to escort him back to his homeworld for psychological reconditioning. He would not be there when they arrived. The family had risen early to help him prepare for what they now called his new beginning, rather than his departure. Over breakfast, they discussed practical matters with the same focused energy they had brought to building his atmospheric processor. "I contacted a lawyer friend who specializes in asylum cases," So Young reported between sips of coffee. "She says your situation definitely qualifies for protection under international refugee laws. Forced memory modification counts as persecution. The paperwork will take a few weeks," Deho added. "But she can file emergency protection orders today that will prevent any government from forcing you to leave Earth." Haywan looked up from her tablet, where she had been researching something intently. "I found a job posting that would be perfect for you. The United Nations needs cultural liaisons who understand both human and alien psychology. The pay is good, and you would help other species adapt to Earth." Veloth felt overwhelmed by their efficiency and support. In less than 12 hours, they had transformed his desperate escape plan into a structured path toward legal residency and meaningful employment. "Why are you doing all this for me?" he asked. It was a question he had posed many times during his stay, and their answer was always the same. "Because you are family," they said in unison, then laughed at their synchronized response. At precisely 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Through the front window, Veloth could see two figures in Catherian environmental suits standing on the doorstep. His former colleagues had come to collect him. Dr. Kim Veloth, So-young said formally, using the Earth name they had chosen together. "Are you ready to meet your transportation to your new job interview?" Veloth smiled at their cover story. As far as any official records would show, he was leaving the house to begin his new position as a cultural consultant with Earth's diplomatic corps. The Kim family would tell the Catherian officers that he had already departed for his new assignment. Picked up the small bag containing his few personal possessions. Everything else he needed was already here in this house with these people who had chosen to love him. "I am ready," he said. But as they prepared to leave through the back door, Veloth felt compelled to witness what would happen at the front of the house. Hidden behind the curtains in the living room, he watched So-young answer the door. The two Catherian officers spoke in formal diplomatic language, their translated voices carrying no emotion. They had come to collect their compromised colleague for immediate transport back to the homeworld. "I am sorry," So-young replied in perfect galactic standard. Veloth left early this morning for his new job with Earth's government. He was very excited about the opportunity to continue his research in an official capacity. "When will he return?" one of the officers asked. "Oh, he will not be returning here," So-young said with convincing regret. "His new position requires him to relocate to Geneva. He thanked us for our hospitality and said he learned much about human culture during his stay." The officers asked a few more questions, but So-young's answers were consistent and believable. After 20 minutes of conversation, they concluded that their target had simply moved on to the next phase of his mission. They departed without requesting a search of the house. "They are gone," Deho reported from the front window. Veloth felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness as he watched the transport ship lift off and disappear into the morning sky. That vessel represented his old life, his species, his original identity. He was now completely cut off from everything he had known for 3 centuries. "Any regrets?" Haywan asked, noticing his expression. Veloth looked around the living room where he had spent so many evenings listening to music, watching movies, and learning what it meant to be part of a family. Bakshi was sleeping in his favorite spot by the window, occasionally twitching his legs as he dreamed. The walls displayed photos from their shared experiences. Veloth's first visit to a Korean temple, the family's camping trip to Jeju Island, Haywan's science fair, where she had presented their collaborative project on interspecies atmospheric requirements. "No regrets," he said firmly. The legal proceedings moved quickly. Within 3 days, Earth's government granted Veloth temporary asylum status. The United Nations offered him a position as Senior Cultural Advisor for Interspecies Relations, a job that seemed designed specifically for his unique qualifications. He would help other alien visitors adapt to Earth while serving as a bridge between human and galactic cultures. More importantly, he could continue living with the Kim family while he established his new life. 2 weeks later, Veloth sat in his new office in Seoul, reviewing applications from other species who wanted to participate in cultural exchange programs. The demand was enormous. Word had spread through galactic communication networks about humanity's unique hospitality and the transformative experiences of living among them. His first official case was a young Trilaxian researcher named Kivo, who had requested a 6-month stay to study human agricultural techniques. Veloth approved the application and personally recommended the researcher to a farming family in Jeju Province, who had volunteered to host alien visitors. "Dr. Kim," his human assistant announced over the intercom, "you have a priority message from the Galactic Council." Veloth accepted the transmission with some nervousness. This was his first official contact with his former employers since disappearing from their transport mission. Director Nexus appeared on his communication screen, looking older and more tired than Veloth remembered. The council leader's expression was carefully neutral, but Veloth detected signs of strain around his eyes. "Former diplomat Veloth," Nexus began formally. I am contacting you regarding recent developments in our cultural assessment program. I am listening, Director. 17 additional exchange diplomats have requested permanent asylum on Earth. They cite personal reasons and cultural preferences. 2 more have simply disappeared from our monitoring systems. Nexus paused. The Council requires your professional assessment of this situation. Veloth leaned back in his chair, considering his response. The answer was obvious to anyone who had experienced human family life, but explaining it to the Council would be challenging. Director, the diplomats are making rational choices based on their personal experiences. Humans offer something that most galactic species lack: unconditional acceptance and emotional support systems that extend beyond biological family structures. You believe this is a positive development? Nexus asked. I believe this is an inevitable development. Any intelligent being exposed to human culture will naturally prefer it to more restrictive social systems. The question the Council must ask is whether you want to fight this trend or benefit from it. Nexus was quiet for a long moment. Explain. Humanity represents the galaxy's best opportunity for peaceful cooperation between species. They do not seek to dominate or convert others. Instead, they make everyone around them want to be part of their social networks. This is not a threat to galactic stability. It is the foundation for a more stable and cooperative galactic community. The Council remains concerned about human unpredictability. Human behavior is perfectly predictable once you understand their core values. They will always choose compassion over efficiency, inclusion over exclusion, and cooperation over competition. These are not random emotional responses. They are consistent cultural principles. 3 months later, the Galactic Council voted to grant humanity full membership with unprecedented speed. The official reason was humanity's demonstrated capacity for interspecies cooperation and cultural integration. The real reason, as Veloth well knew, was that too many Council diplomats had fallen in love with human families to maintain any pretense of objectivity. The ceremony took place at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Veloth attended as Earth's official interspecies cultural advisor, sitting with the human delegation rather than the galactic representatives. He wore formal human clothing, a dark suit that Deho had helped him select, and felt more comfortable than he had ever felt in traditional Catherian diplomatic robes. During the reception following the ceremony, Director Nexus approached him, privately. You were correct about humanity, the Council leader admitted. We initially saw their emotional openness as instability. We now understand it as their greatest strength. They taught me that love is not a limited resource to be carefully rationed, Veloth replied. It grows stronger when it is shared freely. Is this why you chose to remain with them, Veloth? Thought about the question seriously. I remained because they chose me first. Before I understood their culture, before I proved my worth, before I could offer them anything of value, they welcomed me into their family. That kind of acceptance changes you at a fundamental level. Do you miss Kithra? I miss certain aspects of my homeworld, Veloth said honestly. But I do not miss the loneliness. Here I am part of something larger than myself. I contribute to my family's happiness, and they contribute to mine. I